Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, and on the day of Friday, there is an hour in which there is no believer that is in salat praying and he asks Allah shay'an, anything, except that Allah Azza wa Jal will give him what he asked. Allahu Akbar. An absolute guaranteed dua on Friday, that if you were to ask Allah for whatever you want, matters of this life, whatever you want from Allah Azza wa Jal in the hereafter, and I'm sure we have plenty of things we want from Allah Azza wa Jal in this life and in the hereafter. There is no believer who prays and asks Allah Azza wa Jal for whatever he wants in this 1 hour, special hour on the Friday, except that Allah Azza wa Jal will give him what he asked. Allahu Akbar. What a gift to Ummat al-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. You want something better than this? Allahu Akbar. Now listen to this. Ka'b radiyallahu anhu, who was listening to this hadith, then Abu Hurairah is narrating the hadith, and Ka'b radiyallahu anhu from among the companions is listening, so he had a question. So he said, ذَلِكَ يَوْمٌ فِي كُلِّ سَنَةٍ. He said to him, are you speaking about one day of the year in which there is 1 hour that Allah Azza wa Jal accepts the dua? So Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, he said, بَلْ هِيَ فِي كُلِّ جُمُعَةٍ. This is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that's narrated by Abu Hurairah. He said, no, rather every single Friday there is an hour in which you make dua, Allah Azza wa Jal would accept that dua. Allahu Akbar. Now, this hadith, as I said, was narrated by Abu Hurairah, and there were people sitting and listening. So now Abdullah ibn Salam radiyallahu anhu, he heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he added to this hadith, he said, هي آخر ساعة من يوم الجمعة قبل أن تغيب الشمس. He specified when this hour is. He said, this is an hour, it is the last hour on the day of Friday before the sun sets. Allahu Akbar. This is the hour in which the dua is accepted. So Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, he said, didn't you say that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that if a believer is praying and made a dua, his dua is accepted? And you're telling that this hour in which the dua is accepted is the last hour on Friday before the sun sets? And isn't that a time in which salat is forbidden? So how can that be the hour in which the dua is accepted? So Abdullah ibn Salam radiyallahu anhu, he said, this is a good question from Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu. He's asking, there's a confusion here. So Abdullah ibn Salam, he said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said that anyone who prays and sits in the masjid, he is awaiting the next prayer. So long as he's sitting and he's awaiting the next prayer, then he is given reward as though he is in salat. Allahu Akbar. So Abdullah ibn Salam radiyallahu anhu, he's suggesting that the one who prays Salat al-Asr, for example, and then sits awaiting Salat al-Maghrib, when the last hour comes, just before the sun sets, then you are still in salat. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, you are being given the reward of salat. So now, that's how we understand that the one who makes dua in the last hour before the sun sets, his dua is accepted. Because this is a time in where pretty much, if you prayed Salat al-Asr and you're awaiting Salat al-Maghrib, then it is as though you are in salat. Literally, you are in salat. So as a result, the dua that is accepted is the last hour just before the sun sets. Allahu Akbar. So Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, he said, Bala, yes, I've heard the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say this. So Abdullah bin Salam, he said, فَهُوَ كَذَلِكَ. That is it. This is it. This is the time in which you're supposed to sit down and make a dua. Do not move from your place whatsoever. That last hour before the sun sets. Allahu Akbar. Spread it to all our brothers and sisters in Islam. They need to hear that on a Friday there's a special moment in which the dua is accepted. And this special moment could be between the two khutbah of the Imam when he sits, or in Salat al-Jumu'ah itself in your sujood, or it could be in the last hour on the day of Friday, just before the sun sets. Take advantage of these times. Into my brothers and sisters in Islam, isn't there anything that bothers you in your life in which you want from Allah Azza wa Jal to resolve for you? Aren't you bothered by your sins that you want Allah Azza wa Jal to remove them from you? Is it any of among us in sickness and in pain, and he wants Allah to remove and alleviate this pain from him? Don't any one of us, don't you all want the paradise and to be saved from the fire? Don't you want Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive your sins? Then what are you waiting for? Why don't the Muslims take advantage of these times in which there's a guaranteed accepted dua? Allahu Akbar. Ibn Hajar rahimahullah, take advantage of both times, because this is what suits Allah's generosity. Allah Azza wa Jal is generous. Allah Azza wa Jal will accept and can accept the dua in the first opinion, in where that moment of accepted dua is between the two khutbah of the Imam when he sits. And it could also be the last moment of the day of Friday. Could be. That's Allah's generosity. Why are we limiting Allah's generosity to one opinion? My brothers and sisters in Islam, take advantage of this time. Allahu Akbar. Let me share with you another hadith that teaches us the significance and the importance of the day of Friday. Listen very carefully and attentively to this hadith. Wallahi, al-ummah needs to know about this. This hadith that I'm about to share with you, ulama rahimahumullah said that this is the greatest hadith ever reported in the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that mentions a deed and a huge reward. They said that there is no other hadith in the sunnah that mentions such a huge reward for a deed other than this hadith. And this hadith is special for the day of Friday. Listen carefully. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he said, Man ghassala yawm al-jumu'ati waghtasal. There are conditions, you need to fulfill certain things in this hadith, and then at the end you get the grand prize and the grand reward. Allahu Akbar. Wallahi, yani, and I tell you, my brothers and sisters in Islam, these hadith, they excite you so much and motivate you so much to look forward to a Friday, to worship Allah on a Friday. These hadith make you look forward to the day of Friday as being a special day, a day of Eid and a day of worship to Allah Azza wa Jal. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, first thing, Man ghassala yawm al-jumu'ati waghtasal. Anyone who performs ghusl on the day of Friday. Ghassala meaning he washed his head. He washes the hair on his head. That's ghassala. Anyone who washes his hair on a Friday. Waghtasal meaning he performed complete ghusl of his body. You know how to perform ghusl. If you don't know, search it, how to perform ghusl, and learn. You need to know this. Wash your hair and then make ghusl. And you know, part of al-ghusl is to wash your hair. So it's as though there's an emphasis on the hair. Why is that? And ulama rahimahumullah said, because the hair, usually it's thick and it collects a lot of dust and it begins to produce foul smell if a person doesn't clean it. So there was special emphasis on cleaning your hair. Friday, you're supposed to be clean on a Friday. You're going to the masjid. You're going to be greeting and meeting ibadullah, the righteous servants of Allah Azza wa Jal. So you wash your hair, you clean your hair properly, and you remove the bad smell and the odor from your hair by washing it properly. So man ghassala yawm al-jumu'ati waghtasal, performing ghusl on a Friday. That's number one. Al-ghusl, it's supposed to start after sunrise. So al-ghusl for the day of Friday should begin after Fajr, after Salat al-Fajr on a Friday. That's when it counts. And it's best to perform ghusl just before you go to the masjid. Then the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, so this is first condition, you perform ghusl on a Friday after sunrise or after Salat al-Fajr. Next, ثم بكر وابتكر. Bakkara meaning he came out early. The second condition to earn the grand reward. I will mention to you what the grand reward is. But the second condition was to come out early for Salat al-Jumu'ah. Wallahi, when I tell you the reward at the end, it's going to sound easy to walk to the masjid. For this reward, walking, wallahi, you'd walk and you'd crawl to the masjid. Listen. وَمَشَى وَلَمْ يَرْكَبْ. He walked to the masjid and did not ride. So that's the third condition. Fourth condition, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, وَدَنَا مِنَ الْإِمَامِ فَاسْتَمَعَ وَلَمْ يَلْغُ. فَاسْتَمَعَ. What does that mean? It means he paid attention and listened carefully and attentively. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says, now the reward is discussed. He said, كَانَ لَهُ بِكُلِّ خُطْوَةٍ عَمَلُ سَنَةٍ أَجْرُ صِيَامِهَا وَقِيَامِهَا. Allahu Akbar. Listen to this, the reward. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Wallahi, this reward is so powerful. As I said to you, that al-ulama rahimahumullah said, this is the greatest reward ever discussed in the sunnah. That anyone who does that on a Friday, his reward is, for every step he took to the masjid, this is why it's important to walk to the masjid on a Friday. For every step, Allah Azza wa Jal would reward him 1 year worth of fasting all the days of that year, and 1 year worth of reward praying the nights of that year. For every step. So if you took 1,000 steps to Al-Masjid on a Friday with all those conditions I discussed, then you will earn in your good deeds and record of hasanat 1,000 years. You have fasted all those years, accepted fast, and you have prayed the nights of 1,000 years, and they are all accepted. This is the reward you will earn of, for every step he took to the masjid, 1 year for every step, a year, as though you have fasted that year, and as though you have prayed the nights of that year. Allahu Akbar. Is there anything greater than this reward, my brothers and sisters in Islam?